You got to turn
We'll summarize in a little bit anyway. So let's hear. Let's see. So Jeremiah, very important prophet of the Old Testament. He wrote 4 books actually. He had some time on his hands. He wrote 1st and 2nd Kings. He also wrote the Book of Lamentations and, of course, the Book of Jeremiah. But he was a very important prophet. He kind of looks bummed out in that picture, doesn't he? Looks a little sad. He was called the Weeping Prophet. And he was sad. He wasn't sad because he himself was being persecuted. He was sad because all these people around him didn't understand truly what they were doing. They didn't understand how sinful their idolatry was. Anybody can tell me from that article what type of idolatry especially they were practicing? What were they doing? You got it? False worship. What was the religion though? I mean, yeah, paganism. So this worship of multiple gods. Good. So we see, and that's exactly what he spoke out against here. Do forms of idolatry exist today? And of course, yes. Yeah, obviously. But what are they? That's the important question. What do we replace God with in our lives? And I would say that idolatry doesn't necessarily have to be worship anymore. We don't really worship statues. We don't really worship things anymore. I mean, we can't have some things. So what are a few things that we kind of replace God with in our lives today? Money. Money. That's a good, big one. What else? Famous people. That's a good one. Football. Football's a good one. I would also put... Yeah. Nick Saban. Okay. Academics is a very good one. And also, let's see. I would go, I mean, most of us don't have, if you have a nice computer or maybe a video game. There are some kids who would actually, get down and worship a video game, but very few. Today, I would say that the worst form of idolatry today exists with Eros. Eros is love between the sexes. Who has ever seen the movie The Notebook? And if you're a guy, don't raise your hand. That's good. But guys, now I'm not saying that this is wrong. The love between a guy and a girl is a great thing. And it's something that is promoted in the Bible, but to a certain point. If you start replacing that other person, that significant other, with God in your life, that is the only reason you live, like in The Notebook, pretty much, or any other romance movie. You're replacing God with that person in your life. And if you replace God with anything besides Him, it's going to be bad in the end. So, do you have anything to say? No? So, how is religion being abused today? We kind of talked about this earlier, especially with the Catholic faith. Yeah, it is. It's kind of a broad question. Yeah, let's look at I don't know. Let's see. We've got... what about the fact that we have a religion section of the newspaper? It's kind of apparent what we're saying. Yeah, there's a religion section in the newspaper. This whole separation of church and state, the whole idea that religion should be a part of our lives and not the whole meaning behind it. But be one of the things I say. Also, all these new... Mr. Vidal had a good point earlier about all these new churches that have sprung up, religion being abused to make money. Do you guys remember the guy who tried to predict the end of the world twice last year? Sure. Yeah, the guy who got millions of dollars from his people.
I remember there was this movie where this guy scams people and he got a crucifix and Jesus' eyes were closed and he painted them like they were open, like he predicted. He got money off of it and he scammed.
There are ways people try to take advantage of religion all the time, making their own religions, trying to make money off of people. And that's all we got for Jeremiah there. But Jeremiah, in the end, was persecuted and stood up for what he believed. And we saw how he was persecuted, thrown in the cistern and everything. So, move along.
All right. I need 2 volunteers. All right. Yeah, the 2 of you stand up. Now take your books up there. Everybody turn to page 39. All right. Here's what we're going to do. Who wants to be the questioner and who wants to give the answer? You'll be the questioner? Okay, now I want you to read loud and slow. And since you're the questioner, you can start. You can read that first paragraph and go into the question and answer session. This is an interview with St. Dominic. Go ahead.
Toulouse, France, 1220. A new order of friar preachers has begun recently under the leadership of a priest by the name of Father Dominic. We interviewed Father Dominic in order to learn more about the founder of this order. How did you begin your order?
It's a long story. As a young man, I studied for the priesthood, and I was going to be a canon at the cathedral in Osama, Spain, or Osma.
Before we didn't slip.
I was intending to spend most of my life in prayer. After I was ordained, the bishop took me on a trip to other parts of Europe, where I saw how the Al-Bigistan usury was affecting the church. I decided I should try to fight this usury through preaching.
Heresy.
What is this Albigensian heresy?
Albigensian.
Albigensian.
Its proponents say that all material things are evil, even the human body. Therefore, they say Jesus cannot have become a man. Furthermore, they are teaching that God cannot work through sacraments because they are material signs. How do you say it again?
Albigensian.
Albigensians are leading very rigorous lives, so the common people are impressed with them. On the other hand, the people are not impressed with Catholic preachers speaking against Albigensianism. Albigensian. Because many of them are living lives of luxury.
What have you done?
I gathered together 3 Cistercian monks, and we have begun to go around preaching. We are also trying to live a very simple life. With God's grace, our preaching and example are helping to bring many Albigensians back to the Catholic faith.
What have you done?
You already know.
What was this preaching at the beginning of your order?
In a sense, it was. For eventually, some of those who were preaching began to form a community.
What is the idea of your order?
The idea is to combine the contemplative prayer of life with the active life. I tell the friars that they are to speak only of God or with God. This means prayer, study, and preaching the Word of God.
All right, nice job. Stay up there. Now,
All right.
you can both answer this, or one of you. Okay, why do you think we're reading this? What's the reason? Why is it in here?
Because it looks like one of those idolatry.
Idolatry?
Idolatry.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Why do
I
you
don't know.
say
It sounds like Albigensian.
Yeah.
Yes. It looks like somebody just formatted it.
Did Dominic have to
very well.
defend the faith?
Yes.
How did he do that?
He gathered together 3 Cistercian monks,
And then there were people out there who said that Jesus could not have become a man because all human things are evil. Okay. So do you understand why it's in the book?
Yep.
Okay. Have a seat.
Good job.
Okay, I need a volunteer, somebody who has a great reading voice. Good, strong reading voice.
Do you want to do this? I was not sure it would be much better.
I need a new volunteer with a good, strong reading voice. I need a good volunteer here with purple voice. Okay, it's everybody listen. It's
Where's Kimberly?
Okay, it's year 1535, and there weren't a lot of newspapers around, so in 1535, you had what you called the town crier, and that person would go out and they would shout out the news. And a very important event happened in 1535, and I want you to listen to this story.
London, June 6, 1535. Thomas More, former Chancellor of England, was beheaded today for refusing to swear the oath of supremacy. Having recently been charged with treason, More had been imprisoned in the Tower of London while awaiting trial. More opposed King Henry VIII divorce of his first wife, Catherine, and his recent marriage to Anne Boleyn.
Poland.
Over the years, Moore had been the king's close friend, but he refused to approve these actions because of the church's teachings against divorce and remarriage. King Henry has recently declared himself supreme head of the Church of England. The king therefore denied that he was subject to the authority of the Pope in Rome, who refused to grant the annulment. Is that right? Of the king's marriage to Catherine. Moore had unswerving allegiance to the Pope, whom believed to be the successor of Apostle Peter. Moore, who is known to be a man of great faith, had been a scholar, a lawyer, a husband, and a father of 4 children.
Thank you. Good job. What do we know about King Henry VIII? What do we know about King Henry VIII? Tell us about King Henry VIII. Who knows about him?
Oh, didn't he have 12 wives and he murdered a bunch of them? He was a bad guy. That was
He had a
one
bunch
of
of
the
them. Yeah.
He's a jerk.
He's a jerk. So, what did he do so that he could get divorces?
Killed the priest.
What did he do? Yeah, what did he do so that he could have...
He said he was the Pope of the mission.
We need to do a little quick history lesson on Henry VIII. Oh. Anybody? And he named himself the Pope. There you go. Okay, the original name, the Church of England, or what we now call the Anglican Church, was originally called the Catholic Church of England. Henry had 2 problems. He was a womanizer. Get that out. And a bad one at that. But he also, at that time, people tithed. They gave 10% of their wealth to the church. And Henry had a big problem with that because he was sending money from England to Rome to build churches in other countries. And he was fighting France. He was fighting a bunch of those other countries. He didn't want to send them any money. So he had this issue. He wanted to keep that money to build up his army. And he was a womanizer. So all of that said, he, through pride and arrogance, declared himself the Pope of the Catholic Church of England. Now something really interesting, if you go back and read some histories on him, he still believed in the sacraments, and he went to worship before the Eucharist every single day. So he kept all of those traditions, but he separated himself out of his greed, power, pride, and his personal issues. Thomas More was a very close friend. Just like Thomas Becket, he was chancellor, he had a legal background, and he was the only person standing between Henry VIII and his ability to lead the kind of lifestyle and to do the things that he wanted to do, including to declare himself Pope. When he was told that he would be executed, he said, "I die the king's faithful servant, but God's first." And at his beheading, these are his last words. He said, "Pluck up thy spirits, man, and be not afraid to do thine office. My neck is very short. Take heed, therefore, thou strike not awry for saving of thine honesty." And who knows what he's saying here? It's kind of Elizabethan speak, but Old English. What is he saying to his executioner?
Kill me, you forgive him or something?
Yeah. He's saying, "I forgive you. I want you to do this fast. I'm giving myself up to God. My life is God." He was a faithful servant of the king, but he said, "I am God's first. I belong to God first." And he defended the faith against the king who was committing heresy, saying, "I'm breaking away from the church. I'm going to keep all of the church's riches, and he used that to build my army and all the boards and all great commandments. And he was the only one who publicly said, no, I will not go along with this. And he was a very public figure too. It wouldn't be like Todd Fidelity was saying, and Henry was there, but a very public figure and powerful figure still. And said, I will put my life first.
All right. Well, on to one of my favorites, St. Paul, Apostle to the Gentiles. Yeah, we're going to read again in the packet, but you guys have probably heard about St. Paul. I mean, you guys know St. Paul. He was possibly, if not the most important apostle for spreading the faith originally. Immediately out, going all over to Rome, all throughout the Middle East and throughout Europe, spreading the Word of God. So, if you guys will read in your packet on Paul, Apostle to the Gentiles. Yeah, just skim through that quickly.